is a picture by a sculptor called Isaac Cordell. And the social media users actually give it a title called Politicians Discussing Global Warming. Can you see what is in the sculpture? The politicians are talking, right? Keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. And then the water already rise to here, still no action. So that is politicians discussing global warming. So is it really that there is no global solution to it? Of course, this is a nickname given by social media user. It is not the real name or the original title by the sculptor itself, but it really depicts when politicians like to talk, but maybe there is not much of solution. But the good news, however, actually happened in year 2016. Actually, I have been looking at climate change since I was in my school day, but I have never thought there will be one day there will be most of the countries around the world will come up together and sign an agreement called Paris Agreement. So it happens in 2016. So in a nutshell, this Paris Agreement is very important for climate change action of the global. Paris Agreement is an international agreement signed in 2016 by more than 190 signatories, 190 countries. What is the aim of Paris Agreement? Paris Agreement aim is that all of us will take action together. Every single country will have national determined commitment to limit global warming to 2 Celsius above pre-industrial levels. That is pre-industrial levels. Pre-industrial is 1800. By the end of the century, that means 2100, while pursuing efforts to limit the increase to 1.5%. Actually, in Paris Agreement, there is steps for mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation means how do you mitigate global warming? How do you make it less severe? By reducing greenhouse gases. That is mitigation. Adaptation is more complicated. That means how do we help the less developed country to face with the impact of climate change, and therefore needs a lot of financing. And so today, because of time limit, I will just fix straight to global decarbonization. That means a mitigation. Because of Paris Agreement, starting from 2016, there is a global concerted effort that push towards global decarbonization. That means we need to reduce the carbon. And for us to reduce, how do we reduce carbon? Before you can reduce carbon, we need to look at what actually emits carbon. So this is a pie chart. This is a pie chart on the sector. Global emission, what are the things that actually emit a lot of carbon? And if you look at this, all of us Chinese here, Chinese likes red. So the energy is 73%. Energy itself emits about 73% of global emissions. Hence, it is very important that when we talk about climate change and decarbonization, we also need to talk about energy transition. This is a chart on net zero. That means countries around the world do not only make their commitment in Paris Agreement. We commit to reduce release of carbon dioxide, but what? On the level of what? That is reduction of carbon dioxide. Net zero commitment is another commitment, meaning to say, how much of a carbon you emit, you also sink. For example, using carbon capture, and or more natural, using your forest. So countries around the world, this is the number of countries around the world that actually commit to a net zero goal. From 2015, only 3 countries have a net zero goal target. Today, in 2022, there is 86 countries that commit to a net zero. So net zero or decarbonization through Paris Agreement or also net zero, it looks like government around the world is serious about doing it. So now I want to show you another chart that is on another global movement, that is RE100. What is RE100? 100, simply put, these companies that sign up to RE100 club, RE means renewable energy, 100 is 100%. So it is companies that sign up to get all their electricity from renewable energy source by certain time, latest by 2050. Why? Because for us to reach 2 Celsius target globally, we need to reach net zero by 2055. That is why RE100 companies are usually those companies that say we want to reach net zero by 2030, 2040, or some 2050. So how big is the size of RE100 club? I remember in 2018, when I was a minister then, I was talking about this RE100 movement. Literally, I think most of the people don't agree with me that it will gain momentum. That time, only 37 members in RE100 clubs. Mostly are big MNCs, including Apple, IBM, Samsung, Sony, etc. But today, do you know that there are more than 433 members in RE100 club? That means there is an exponential growth in the past 6 years in RE100 club. These companies are multinational companies that want to get their electricity 100% from RE. Therefore, as a government, it is important for us to give you an option to be able to decarbonize your electricity 100%. You can get 100% of RE in Malaysia. How big is the market? Some of you are RE players. How big is RE100 market? To date, it has exceeded the size of France. The size of electricity demand of France, 500 terawatt hour. That means if it is a country, it means or the energy demand for this is as big as of France. So it is actually very big. So if you cannot remember all the facts and the figures and the graphs that I showed you just now, just remember this conclusion that you can take home. That I believe that decarbonization is moving forward and there is no turning back. Because both the government want to do something and the big companies around the world want to do something about it. That means all of you who are in the supply chain, even though you are not in RE business, even though you think your manufacturing business are not related to carbon, one day it will affect you if you're not prepared. Because all these RE100 clubs will come to you as part of their global supply chain to ask you to reduce your carbon. So what about it in Malaysia? Malaysia has a national determined contribution to achieve 45% reduction in carbon emission intensity by 2030 relative to 2005 level. This is actually a very easy goal. I think we can easily meet it. The second one is more difficult. That is net zero. Actually, Malaysia government has set in a very ambitious net zero goal. That means we want to set net zero to be as the same as developed country. That is net zero as early as 2050. If you look at the net zero, some of the selected countries here, you will see that all the developed countries, they have set the net zero to 2050, including us in ASEAN, in Singapore and Vietnam. But the other developing countries, they actually are not as ambitious as Malaysia. So in order for us to achieve this target, there will be a lot of move by the government, drive from the government for renewable energy sector, for decarbonizing sector. Not only renewable energy, but talking about other non-energy decarbonization as well. Again, how do we decarbonize? Same thing. You want to get net zero, you either reduce your greenhouse gases or you increase the sink of your greenhouse gases. So again, we look at Malaysia's greenhouse gases inventory. Just now, the pie chart, you look at the global inventory, but there is the same denominator, which is energy sector, actually take the most of it. 78.5% of total emissions in Malaysia is actually in energy sector. And but of course, there is a lot of divisions to it, but enough to say that it is very important that government launch a roadmap. So after becoming a government again in 2023 August, the Malaysian government has launched what we call National Energy Transition Roadmap. This roadmap encompasses different things, energy efficiency, renewable energy, hydrogen, bioenergy, green mobility, and carbon capture. I would say that energy efficiency and renewable energy is something that has already have very mature and good policies that we continue to go further. The other four are less so, of which later one of our speaker, Dr. Abdullah, will share with you on hydrogen and CCUS, of which Sarawak will have more potential. But what is the goal? The goal is to increase RE shares in Malaysia in installed capacity from 31% to 70% by 2050. That is a lot of RE. How does it translate into profits or opportunities for you as a business? Let's just look at the projected power system installed for capacity for us to reach 70% RE. The energy department actually have done a simulation of what are the different types of REs, and one of it, of course, is solar. If you can look at this, we need about 59 gigawatt in the next 25 years. That translates into 14% of annual growth in solar. That means you are talking about 2 to 3 gigawatt per year in Malaysia. Of course, some of you are from China. To you, 2 to 3 gigawatt is small, but for some of our solar players here, it's a big pie in the market. If you ask me whether it is something that I should invest as a newcomer, there is a preconditions. Because I observed that in the solar industry have huge potential of growth, 14%, it is also highly competitive. It is highly competitive in Malaysia. So if you are a new player, you need to make sure that you really are competitive. You are competitive in terms of innovation, and you provide so much more yield for your solar farms or solar system. I think in China they use the word 卷, yeah, and 有一点卷, 不是很卷, 有一点卷. It's not to the extent 很卷 yet. It's the extent 有一点卷. That means actually there is still room to play, but it is not a comfortable field. So, but in NETR, there are so many more business opportunities that you can look at. I give you an example on grid. Whenever we talk about renewable energy, we always think only the renewable energy and the end. But between RE and users, in between, it is grid. In order for us to get more RE to the consumers, actually the grid needs some changes. So the grid transmission, distribution, and also storage. In order for us to reach 70% by 2050, we actually are expecting an additional investment of 175 billion from now until 2050. And together with the business as usual case, 245 billion, grid market itself, from now until 2050, is about 420 billion. So there is a lot of other opportunities. If you think that solar power is not something that you are after and you don't have a competitiveness in it. The next, and there are a lot more. So I hope that you go back and read National Energy Transition Roadmap and see what your companies can actually take part in. The next one is NETR. I just share with you a little bit on some of the existing green incentives. We have green investment tax allowance, green technology financing scheme, green income tax exemption. Because of time constraint, you can actually go to MGTC. There's a website, MGTCC. You can check out what are the criteria for every one of these incentives. Tax allowance means you get a tax card, and income tax exemption means if you are a green company, you can actually be exempted from income for 10 years. And if financing scheme includes loan guarantee, partial loan guarantee, and interest subsidies. We also recently introduced voluntary carbon exchange. For some of you who are manufacturing companies, or some of you who think whether you should set up a plant here, if you are going to export to MNCs, I would like to suggest you that Malaysia is a good place for you to be here. Because why? You can decarbonize your electricity. List out some of the things you can do to decarbonize your electricity. So in your carbon accounting to your MNC's customers, you can actually account them. We actually have green tariff. Green tariff is very simple. You pay to TNB an extra premium to buy green energy. Second, you can actually buy renewable energy certificates. Number 3 is net energy metering. You can put on solar panels and decarbonize some of your electricity. Number 4 is what we call corporate green power program. Green power program is also something that you can buy RE with some of these programs and then decarbonize your electricity through that. So we are not really, I'm now talking to you, not only talking to you as that if you are RE players, even if you are RE, you are manufacturers, you are a service company, you are different, you're doing different business, don't underestimate greening your companies. It will help you to compete in the global supply chain. Simply because there are many companies that have net zero target. Many companies are a part of RE100. So what actually is my conclusion? Conclusion is Malaysia only contributes 0.8% of global greenhouse gases emission. Even today, you want to cut half of our greenhouse gases, you still cannot save the world. Then why do we do all these things? And we are even ranked now among the best in Southeast Asia countries. Now we are 35 out of 120 countries. We are best in the ranking in Southeast Asian countries in Energy Transition Index. Malaysia is also the top exporters in global, one of the top exporters in global PV industry. So all these things, why? Why government want to push so many things to you? Simple, because we want our solar players here, our RE players here, to take Malaysian project as a platform for you to launch, a launch pad for you to be a globalized company that provides solar, that provides renewable energy services to other countries around the world, because the whole world is decarbonizing. Second, we want to be the best place for investment for people who want green energy. That's the reason why we have a lot of policies that allow you to actually getting RE, and that the new policies that's coming up, some of you are saw in Malaysia, is the third-party access framework, which is still in discussion, and also RE export to Singapore. So there is a lot of opportunities. So my point here is this: for us, simple, we want to be the best place for people to invest if they want to have enough REs, they want to decarbonize their production so that they can compete in the global supply chain. If you're still not very convinced that you need to decarbonize your company, if you are SMEs selling to local players and not MNCs with net zero target, not MNCs with carbon reduction target, then forget about it. But if you are SMEs that actually compete in a global supply chain, there is a recent, 2 years ago, there is the study by Standard Chartered Bank called Carbon Date. It says that 78% of 400 MNCs surveyed would remove their supplier by 2025 if that endangers their net zero goal. 78% they will remove you. But if you run the business and you decarbonize properly, you probably, somebody that is removed, you probably can take the share. So, and 45% of them are willing to pay a premium up to 7% for a low carbon products. So this is something, it's an opportunity, of course. It's an opportunity for global supply chain, and opportunity for Malaysia to be in net zero club is about 65 billion ringgit, US dollar, sorry, 65 billion US dollar. That is 20% of our GDP in 2019, if you see it 2019 level. So it is really a huge thing for you to consider and think through whether or not you want to decarbonize your companies. Of course, not every companies need to be decarbonized and should be, but it's something for you to think about when you think about the strategy, future strategy for your companies. Of course, if you are in other fields, today I don't want to disappoint you. Actually, there are many other fields that you can think through. That is on the non-energy decarbonization. Malaysia Voluntary Carbon Market, which is a carbon trading market by Bursa Malaysia, has just introduced what we call nature-based carbon trading. That means if you are companies that look into, this is LUCF, look further. There's a land use and land use change and forestry. So this one, if you're a company that works around forestry technology, that means how you do reforestation, etc., there is also an opportunity for you to play. If you are for reforestation, because remember, net zero is about emission and sink. Emission is carbon dioxide reducing, changing the RE, but sink is your forest or carbon capture. So another one, for example, is fugitive emission, methane emission. Methane is also it's a very potent greenhouse gases. In fact, it's 25 times more impact as a greenhouse gases than carbon dioxide. So these are some of the things that we have unexplored. The government will have to explore it in order to reach our net zero target. We cannot only do the national energy transition roadmap. We cannot only look at renewable energy. There are other things that we should look at in order for us to actually be able to meet our target. So I'd like to end the final slide with this. Chinese always say 危机危机. The world is faced with a lot of dangers, climate change danger, plastic pollution, but there is huge opportunity. And we should be looking at green economy as an opportunity for Malaysia to grow, instead of just on, we need to save the world. We want to grow the economy by having good policies as we drive more green economy growth in Malaysia. Our target for NETR, for example, for us to reach NETR, the roadmap, transition roadmap, we are expected to attract 1.2 to 1.5 trillion of investment by 2050 and 220 billion ringgit of additional GDP. That is 310,000 new green jobs for all. So I would like to leave it to all of us to discuss this as an opportunity and not as a threat. With that, I'd like to thank you, and I wish you later on we can open for discussion. Thank you.